Okay, hi guys. We're going to do a little bit more Google food today. I'm going to talk about this bowl that I found. So I went out to a thrift store and this was on the bottom of one shelf. This is a bowl and it is possibly Murano. You can see the price there. It's obviously it's $10. That's Canadian. It is about 1.5 feet across. It was incredibly large, and it was incredibly heavy as well. I took 2 pictures of it and I ended up leaving it on the shelf. I decided that this was not for me, but I did take a picture of it, and I also took a picture of the back, and it's got this mark on it, and you can just make out that it says, hopefully, Ferro Murano. So the question we're going to try and answer today is, do we actually think this is Murano? Is this legit? So I'm just going to start here. First of all, is Ferro Murano, like, that seems very generic. Is this an actual could this actually be the name of a company? And a quick Google search will tell us that yes, it is. There's a few different options here. We've got Fornes Ferro Murano SRL. There's a few different glass factories, and they have that name. So I mean that's good. That gives us something to go with. But if you then start taking a look at this Ferro Murano swirl bowl, and we immediately start getting all of these hits, they do actually show up, and they show up quite a lot. And they often show up here as Yalos Murano, and they show up in concert with that. So Ferro Murano are known for this. I do actually have the website here for Yalos Murano. This is the name of the company, and their entire thing is basically these enormous glass bowls. You can see a few examples here. No, it's not loading. So you can see some examples here. They do these enormous, like, center bowls. It seems to be the thing that they're known for quite a bit. Now, the interesting thing here is that straight away we can see some examples like here, and that one there, that look very similar to this one. But are we convinced yet? The most important thing in this, anyway, is looking at this mark. This mark is troubling to me. I don't like the look of it. I'm not convinced by it. Like, let's just go back and take a look again. So we're going to look at Ferro Murano swirl bowl. We know that there are companies that do this. The Ferro Murano name is very much known for these center bowls. So what exactly do we have if we just look at the mark? And we more or less don't get a whole lot. Now, I did obtain taking a look around to see if I could identify any mark by Fornes Ferro Murano, because they seem to be the ones that that do a lot of this kind of thing. The Ferro name or the Ferro family kind of morphed into this company, Yalos Murano. But this particular bowl that we have here, this little blue bowl, this is a Fornes Ferro Murano bowl, stained glass, blah, blah. And if we take a look at it here, get rid of that. What we have here is Fornes Ferro Murano bowl, stained glass, it's a marine bowl. It's not quite the same thing, but we can see the mark here. This is the anchor mark. And I've done a quick look around it. This is very much typical of the Fornes Ferro Murano company. They did these big, enormous center bowls, and they had this particular etched mark. Most important thing, this etched mark does not look like this. It's entirely different. So let's keep going. Like, if we got anything else, if we got any kind of acid etch mark, anything we could really look at, and we kind of don't. You can actually look up at what you can expect from marks on Murano bowls. Most of the time, they're gonna, if they're going to be marked at all, they'll have a signature, as in an actual handwritten signature from the artist, or they'll be unmarked. I've seen a few of them that do have an etched mark, and if you go onto 20thcenturyglass.com, they do have a list there. You can see they'll basically look like that. That's the Vanini Italia, I think. That's kind of what you expect. There's a list there, and it's a very short list of what kind of marks, acid etched marks, you could expect on Murano. So if we can actually just keep going, just keep looking around at the Yalos mark, is that kind of looking similar to that? Because again, if you just look at Yalos Murano, again, you see all these enormous bowls, and you can see vintage Yalos Murano definitely had this style going on. But I found a listing here for one of their bowls, and there you go, the Yalos Murano made in Italy, but it doesn't look like our mark. And this bowl very much looks the same style, but it's not the same. Now, here's the problem. Having looked at this, I decided, maybe if it's an acid etched mark, chances are there's going to be the logo of the company. Can we find a logo that matches? And the short answer is that we really can't. I'm looking here this is a Google search, looking for a Ferro logo, any logo at all with the word Ferro in it. that can be identified by Google. This is normally going to be stuff like pulled out of web pages and everything, but it's really kind of a useful shorthand just for picking out logos to see the shape and style. You know, the typography is basically what we're looking for here. Do we have anything that could even vaguely look like what we've got? And like we just basically don't. There's nothing showing up in Google anyway that looks like this. I've scanned quite a bit more, and there's still basically nothing. So basically, I ended up leaving this because at the time I felt that there was something just not quite right about it. That, like, I ended up asking myself, do I believe for a second that this was made by an Italian master glassblower? And the answer was unequivocally no. It was just, it looks and feels like it's sloppy. It's like it's been half-assed by whoever tried to do it. It has some superficial similarities to the centerpiece bowls that are done, that you can find online, that we know for a fact are legitimately Murano. But this just doesn't look right. It's like it's got blobby here. There's no proper sweep here. You can see that the colours don't quite, like, it comes to a point there, it doesn't go out to a completely smooth swirl. Like, I can say myself that when I actually picked this up, I thought that the glass just felt cheap and even a bit greasy. I mean, it's not unusual for thrift stores because obviously stuff does get dirty and they don't wash it, as far as I know, before they put it out on the shelves. But overall, I was looking at this going like, I don't believe for a second that this is Murano. Knowing that, like, I knew just kind of off the top of my head that there was definitely a company called Ferro Murano, at least one. So, did I think that this is a legitimate mark? Not really, because Murano bowls tend to be almost perfect. They show a very, very high level of craftsmanship and care and attention. And this is not care and attention. This is someone half-assing it. The entire bowl was basically that. The entire bowl was like somebody made this and just kind of tossed it out there and didn't really care what they were doing. And I kind of thought, look, I don't think this is real. I think that this is not a real Murano bowl. I'm just going to leave it, not even for $10. Even though if I had actually taken it and sold it, like a centerpiece bowl of this size could be worth, like, I would say up to $100 US. But it just, these are the real bowls. And you can even see here, the swirls in them are exact. They are intentional. That's kind of always the judgment that I make. If I want to look at something and decide whether I think it's Murano or not. Murano is organic, but it is always very intentional. Nothing looks like a mistake. It's like it can flow. It can look like it kind of just came together. It's very organic kind of a thing. None of it looks like it was a mistake. It always looks intentional. And this kind of doesn't. This looks like somebody making mistakes. So this is kind of one of the perils, I guess, of Google Foo as well, is that you kind of have to synthesize a lot of information and trying to figure out, like, how does this apply to whatever you're looking at. But to be honest, in this case, I kind of just trusted my gut before I ever went Googling. I just looked at it and decided, look, you know, this is not, I don't believe this is Murano. I don't think it's the quality of Murano. So, yeah. I think if there's any lesson you're going to take for this is that eventually you're going to get a feel for the good stuff, and then you got to just kind of go with your gut sometimes. And I think a lot of the time Google maybe won't give you a complete answer. It'll only kind of hint about what you should really be looking at. So I hope this is, somewhat informative. Thanks very much for watching. Bye-bye.